Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel, Awfully Big Adventures, where today we're going to talk about how to choose a cabin for your cruise. We're going to go through a list of pros and cons for an inside room all the way up through a suite.
So the first thing to consider when you're picking your cruise cabin is your budget, of course. Much like with a hotel or any other reservation, you need to price it out and see what is doable for you. And you'll want to think about all the other things that go with that. Now the nice part on cruises, the food and all that is included, but you have to think about drinks, your flight to the port, anything that you want to do while you're in the port, your shore excursions, your taxi rides, and so putting all of those things together to create a comprehensive budget is important.
So the first thing to know about picking a cruise ship cabin is the four main categories. Regardless of what line that you cruise on, they can pretty much be broken down into four main categories of stateroom. They are interior, a ocean view where you'll have at least some sunlight through a porthole or a picture window, a balcony, or a suite.
So the first thing to do is to think about what type of vacation person you are. You can pull up the prices of each of those four types of rooms and you'll notice a very significant difference between an interior stateroom and a suite, much like most hotels on land. But think about how you tend to vacation. Do you spend a lot of time in your room, or do you prefer to be on the pool deck? Do you prefer to be on the go all the time? Because if you're that type of person, getting a suite or maybe even a balcony might not be worth it to you to spend the extra money if you're not even going to be in your room to enjoy it most of the time. So you want to think about what's most relaxing for you, what you tend to like, and that gives you a good sense of where you might want to spend your money on the cruise.
So a few things to consider when picking out a room in one of the four main categories is how much time you're going to be spending in there, who you're going with, because you might want more space if you're going with family. You don't want to be in close quarters with them for several days at a time, and also how many beds are in there, because that's going to limit what kind of rooms are available for you to book if you have 2 people or 3 people or 4 people going.
So the first type of cabin we're going to talk about is called an interior stateroom. And much like it sounds, it means it's on the interior of the ship. So you don't have any windows, portholes, you don't have any natural light source. Now some of the pros of that, they are the cheapest cabins that you can book on board. So you can find some really great deals, even maybe several $100s for a week-long cruise per person. And so compared to a resort vacation or another type of vacation, you can go for really cheap. Some of the other pros to that would be on some ships the room layout is the same as the balcony. You just don't have the balcony, so you may have the same square footage, you may have the same space, and so that's something to think about. And on some ships the rooms are a little bit smaller, so you'll want to compare that. Every cruise line will list the square footage of each type of room that they have. Now on another pro with that, on some of the newer ships, such as Quantum of the Seas, Anthem of the Seas, Harmony of the Seas, and any Disney ship, they do have what's called a virtual balcony, which is basically like a really large TV screen that they filter in live feed from outside, so you can see what the weather's like, you can see the ocean, you can see the port. And so while you don't get that same balcony experience, you can still see what it's like outside, and it helps you to feel a little bit more connected.
So on the other hand, some cons of having an inside cabin is definitely going to be the lack of natural light. There are no windows, other than, like a little crack around your door. That's like all the light you're going to be getting. So a lot of people complain that it's very disorienting you wake up, you don't know what time it is, you don't know if the sun is up, you really don't know anything about your outside world. And a lot of people find that very discomforting. Another con is going to be the size. On most cruise ships, since they are cheaper, they are going to be a lot smaller. So if you have like 3 or 4 people in there and they have like the Pullman, the like bunk beds pulled down, it can be very cramped, very crowded, especially for if you're going for like a week. A lot of people find that very uncomfortable.
So the next step up from an interior stateroom is what's called an ocean view stateroom. And as you might guess from the name, you do have a view of the ocean. And that's through a picture window, so like a big square window or a porthole window, which can be a very small porthole or it can be a very large porthole. It varies by ship. Sometimes you may want to look on Cruise Critic or look for pictures or any pictures that the cruise line publishes to get a sense of what they mean exactly when they say ocean view. Now, some of the benefits of that, of course, you do have a view of the ocean and what's going on outside, so you can see the weather, you can see when you're coming into port. You feel more connected with the ocean, and it can be relaxing to just sit and look out the window, watch the sunset or the sunrise, and it helps you have a better sense of what time it is. Another benefit is that they tend to be on the cheaper end. They will be more expensive than an interior stateroom, but less expensive than a balcony stateroom. So if you're wanting to have that connection with the outside world, but you don't want to spring for the balcony, in some instances or some ships, it can be a big price difference, whereas it may only be a couple $100s between an interior and an ocean view. That's a good way to get that experience without breaking the bank.
Something else that I also liked about having one of my favorite rooms that we've ever had was an ocean view, and it was on our first cruise together, and we did some research and found rooms that were put in where the old dining room used to be. So the large windows that were in a dining room were actually in our stateroom, and we didn't have a balcony, but this window was so large and it was round that you were like right at ocean level and you could lay in the windowsill. It was that large and it was really, really enjoyable, and still it's one of my favorite staterooms that we've had. So some cons of having an ocean view stateroom and not a balcony is like there's no immediate access to fresh air. I know there are definitely some times where it can get really stuffy inside and like you're just like, I need to get outside. So it's a lot more difficult to get to that fresh air. On like the newer Norwegian ships, they'll have the waterfront, which should be pretty close to where the ocean view rooms are, but that's not the case necessarily on most cruise ships. Another con is that it is going to be on the lower decks. Some people, that matters more to them than other people. The balconies are definitely going to be above you, so you're going to be closer to the water line.
So the next cabin we're going to talk about is the balcony, and this is definitely the cabin that we tend to prefer to stay in. It fits with our vacation style, and honestly it's kind of hard to go back once you do stay in a balcony stateroom, as long as your budget allows for it. Now the pro with the balcony, of course, is that you do have that nice outdoor balcony where you can sit, you can feel the ocean air, you can hear the sounds as you come into port, you can look out over the ship, and so you don't have to go all the way up to the pool deck or to the promenade or anywhere else to get a sense of that outside connection. And it's really nice at night. Sometimes you can sit out there and read a book or just relax, stargaze, look at other ships with the binoculars. You can have breakfast out there in the morning as you're coming into port. So it's really nice and it's really relaxing. And for us, it fits with our style of relaxing and having a quiet place to go, as opposed to the pool deck where there might be music or competitions going on. And so it's a really nice haven for us and for our type of vacation that we prefer.
So probably the biggest con to booking a balcony is going to be the cost. It's definitely going to be way more than a inside cabin, and it's usually a few $100s more than an ocean view. But in our opinion, it's definitely something worth it, and it's something that we really value on our vacations.
So the next room we'll talk about are the suite level rooms. Now within that, there's a very wide range of what a suite room is. It can be a room maybe twice the size of a normal balcony cabin, all the way up to a 5,500 square feet 3-bedroom suite. And so there's a really wide range in terms of size and in terms of price. So if you do want to spend a little bit more money to get some of those additional perks, then you can price out what some of those suite options are. And on almost every ship, there are several different layers of suite options that you can choose from. It's not just one standard suite room. Now some of the perks with that, you will have a balcony, you'll have a larger room, usually a larger bathroom, a larger balcony, more space, more storage, and so it's more of a sense of a resort as opposed to a small ship cabin or a smaller hotel room. So you can spread out a little bit more. Some people find that much more relaxing. Also with the suite level rooms, you tend to get a lot more perks depending on how high the suite level you're in. You can have concierge service, you can have butler service, there may be a specialty dining option for people staying in suites. They'll press your clothes before formal night, you may get free internet and drink packages. There's a lot of extra bonuses that they may throw in there as a part of that. So you can get all of those nice things kind of bundled into one experience if you're staying in a suite level room.
So again, the con to booking a suite level room is definitely going to be cost. It is a substantial amount more than booking a balcony or an ocean view or definitely an interior room. But on the flip side to that, if you're a family of 4, a lot of times you can catch booking deals. So like with Norwegian, they often do like family and friends sail free. So that means that you would pay for your first and second guest, but your third and fourth are free. And for a lot of families, that is way cheaper than booking like 2 separate balcony rooms. You can get like a 2-bedroom suite in the Haven, and everyone gets free drinks, everyone gets free specialty dining, and free internet, and all the other perks that come with being booked in the Haven, which is Norwegian's kind of suite access area within their ship. So there's definitely a con with the price, but if you are able to book with more people, it can also be a pro.
So the next thing to think about after you pick which level of stateroom you would like to be in is the location of the ship. Now there are several things to think about with that. The first one is what type of neighbors will you have? And by that I mean, are there staterooms on both sides of your cabin? Are there staterooms above and below your cabin? Because for some staterooms, let's say you're on a higher deck, you may be right under the pool deck or right under the buffet. So you'll hear people walking over your room all day, or you'll hear chairs scraping, and that can be really annoying if you're wanting to take like a midday nap. Now some people like that. They like the location close to the pool. You don't have to do a lot of stairs or a lot of time on the elevator. And so it's worth it to look at the deck plan. So you would look at the deck that your room is on, and you would look at the deck below and the deck above, and just see what is in those areas and if there's anything that you think might be a noise. I think probably one of the bigger things people complain about is if they have a room that's maybe right above the nightclub on the ship, and so of course that can be open until 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and some people, it's just too much noise for them while they're trying to sleep, understandably. So it's helpful to look at those 3 decks and just see if there's anything that you think that might cause a problem there. The next thing to think about is if you tend to get motion sick, what area of the ship you might want to be in. Now the part of the ship that moves the least is in the middle of the ship and on the lower decks. And so if you're really prone to motion sickness, you probably want to stay as low as you can on the ship and toward midship. So it's not aft. Aft is the very back of the ship, and forward is the very front of the ship. You want to stay in the middle part because that's the part that moves the least when there's any waves or any motion in the ocean. So it's something to think about. The higher up you are, the more you're going to feel it if there are waves. And so there again, it kind of depends on Neil and what you know about if you're prone to motion sickness or if there are any concerns there.
So the next thing to consider whenever you're picking where on the ship you would like your stateroom is your itinerary. So what I mean by that is like whether you want to be on the port or the left side or the starboard or the right side of the ship. And this would matter the most probably when you're doing like a Hawaiian cruise, and so that would be like which way you're going around the islands. And if you're going to where the starboard side is always facing towards the islands, you would probably want to have a stateroom on that side. And you know, the other way around, if you're going the other way around like the islands, or you're going to Alaska or something and all of the scenery is going to be on the port side, you would probably want to have a room on the port side of the ship.
The easiest way to tell that is to look at the map of the itinerary. It'll show an arrow of which way the route is going, and you can have a sense of what side is best to be on. Or you can look on Cruise Critic. There's lots of blogs and discussions where people have talked about these issues, and they would give you a good sense or a good idea of what might be a better room location for that particular cruise. So one last thing to think about, if you tend to cruise a lot, and if you tend to cruise with one particular cruise line, or you think you might stick with one particular cruise line, there can be a difference in terms of the loyalty points that you'll get. So for Royal's program, it's called the Crown and Anchor program, and you get 1 point per night on the ship if you're in an ocean view, an interior, or a balcony stateroom. But if you're in a suite level stateroom, you get 2 points per night. So if you want to move up into different tiers or different status quicker, you can do that more quickly by staying in a suite level, and that just gets you more perks such as additional discounts, additional additional items you can get for free on your cruise. And so for some people, that's something that they really look forward to, and that's important. And so staying in a suite is just one faster way to be able to do that.
Alright, that about wraps it up for what we have. Our checklist that we go through whenever we're picking a cruise ship cabin. If you'd like to, just comment down below what are some things that you think about whenever you're booking a stateroom, and just start a discussion down there. And thank you all for watching.